She knew what that dress meant to me. She wore it anyway, and she didn't even flinch when I said nothing. It was hanging in the back of the closet for over a year. The last time she wore it, we had a fight so bad I slept in the car. I told her then, if I ever saw it again, it meant she'd stopped pretending to care. I guess that night, she finally stopped pretending. She walked out of the bedroom like she was auditioning for someone else's life. Silver heels, red lipstick, that black velvet dress with the slit up the side that made her look like the woman every man wished would wreck him. And I just stood there, holding a plate of microwave lasagna with my stupid little movie night plan in ruins. I asked, carefully, "Where are you going?" She didn't even turn. "Harper's penthouse. I told you about it last week." She didn't. I swear she didn't. I would have remembered. I always remember. Tonight? I thought. "I can't do this right now, Owen," she snapped. "You always make me feel guilty for having a life." A life. That's what she called it. Like everything I built with her wasn't one. Like I was the deadweight dragging her down. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just watched her grab her bag, unlock the door, and leave behind everything that was supposed to matter. The second she was gone, the silence dropped like a bomb. The lasagna stayed on the table. The candles flickered out one by one. I stood there for maybe half an hour, still holding the plate, before I tossed it in the sink and opened the drawer with the envelope. The one with my exit plan. Most men fantasize about a sports car or a boat. I fantasized about disappearing. I'd been quietly saving for years, an emergency fund. But I never told her. I didn't think I'd ever use it. Until that night. She went to a party. I went off the map. I drained the account, burned the phone, left the keys on the kitchen table beside the untouched wine. I didn't leave a note. She didn't deserve a note. I didn't think she'd even notice. But now, 2 years later, she's standing on my porch, soaked from the rain, shaking like a leaf, saying my name like she never threw it away. "Owen, please." And you know what the worst part is? I almost let her in. She wasn't cold. I saw right through it the second I opened the door. The shivering, the dramatic gasps, the soaked shirt clinging to her collarbone like some movie scene. It was all too perfectly timed. Like she waited until the thunder started just to make sure I'd hear her knocking. And I was stupid enough to open the damn door. Fallon. Yes, her again, stood on my porch like a ghost I hadn't invited. Makeup streaked, but somehow her eyeliner was still flawless. Mascara down her cheek, but her lips untouched. That's not how real crying looks. That's staged regret. "Owen," she said, voice cracking like a pageant winner's speech. "I've been trying to find you." I didn't say a word. I didn't trust myself to. She stepped forward like she expected the door to magically widen for her. Like I'd forgotten how she left me with silence, glitter, and a wine bottle still sealed. "I shouldn't have left that night," she said, eyes locked on mine like that erased everything. "I was stupid. I thought you'd still be there when I got back." "So that's it, huh?" Her whole apology wrapped in one assumption. That I'd still be there. Fallon was always like that. She could build a disaster, walk away from the wreckage, and somehow get sympathy for the ash on her heels. I leaned against the doorframe and folded my arms, just to stop them from shaking. "What do you want, Fallon?" She hesitated, just long enough to make it clear she hadn't expected that question. She was expecting a hug, maybe a breakdown, maybe for me to fall apart in her arms like she was the only person who ever loved me. Instead, I stared, and to my surprise, her face changed. "This isn't about me," she finally said. "I need your help. Someone's looking for you." That sentence hit different. I hadn't told anyone where I went, not even my own mother. The only person who had the address was a guy named Cal who sold antique radios 3 towns over and let me rent the spare room above his garage for cash. No Wi-Fi, no paper trail, no mail. I didn't exist. "Fallon," I said slowly, "how did you find me?" She swallowed. "I had to ask someone. He said you might be here." I didn't believe him at first. But then "Who?" She bit her lip. "Who told you?" And then she said the name I never wanted to hear again. "Jonas." My stomach turned so hard I had to steady myself on the doorframe. Jonas was the reason I disappeared in the first place. Not the party. Not the dress. Not even the fact that she walked out on me. It was what I saw on her phone the morning after. One name. One message. One photo. Jonas. He was never just a friend. And she never explained. Now she was on my porch, 2 years later, saying his name like it was just another bump in the road. "I wouldn't come here unless it was serious," she said. "Please. Let me explain." But I didn't want explanations. I wanted to know why Jonas, the man I disappeared to escape, suddenly knew where I lived. And why Fallon was now more scared than sorry. I hadn't heard the name Jonas in 734 days. And yet the second she said it, my skin remembered. My jaw clenched like it did that morning, when I saw his contact name pop up above a selfie Fallon had no business smiling in. The memory wasn't fuzzy, it was sharp. So sharp it still cut when I breathed. I didn't let her in. Not yet. I stood in that doorway like the damn hinges were holding me up. Jonas? I said slowly, deliberately, like the word might change if I said it different. Fallon looked down, then back at me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't real, Owen. Define real? I snapped. Because last time you used that word, you told me the pictures didn't mean anything. That was different. No, that was betrayal. The thunder rumbled behind her like it agreed with me. She flinched but didn't move away. Instead, she hugged herself tighter and said something I didn't expect. He's not just looking for you. He's looking for me, too. I felt something twist in my chest. That wasn't part of the game. Fallon didn't scare easily. She thrived on drama. But this wasn't performance. Her eyes darted behind her like she half expected someone to be standing in the woods. Her voice dropped when she spoke again. I thought he was gone, Owen. I thought after everything, he moved on. But he didn't. I didn't know what she meant by after everything. She never gave me that part of the story. Back then, she just deflected. She gaslit. She made me feel crazy for connecting dots that were already outlined in permanent marker. I left so you wouldn't have to lie anymore, I said. So tell me why you're on my doorstep now, pretending like I'm the one who can save you. She exhaled sharply. Because I made a mistake. A huge one. And he found out. I raised my eyebrows. Bigger than cheating on your husband. I didn't cheat, she said quickly, too quickly. I tilted my head. Fallon, he sent you pictures of you asleep in his apartment. She looked like she was about to argue again, like the lawyer in her couldn't help but find some technicality to hide behind. But something stopped her. Her mouth opened, then closed. For the first time in years, Fallon looked like she didn't know what to say. And that scared me more than anything. Owen, she whispered. He's not just angry. He's dangerous now. Something's changed. I'm not your husband anymore. I know, but you're the only person who ever saw him clearly. I didn't like the way she said that. Like I was still tethered to the mess she made. Like she'd dragged me into a storm and was only now realizing she'd left the door open behind her. Let me guess, I said bitterly. He went off the rails after I left, and now he's blaming you for it. She hesitated. No, not blaming. Blackmailing. The word hit me like a fist to the ribs. I opened the door wider, not because I forgave her, but because I needed to know what the hell she'd gotten herself into. She stepped inside slowly, dripping rain onto the hardwood floors I installed with my own 2 hands during that first winter I disappeared. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she said, looking around the small, bare room that had become my world. I just need to tell you what happened. Because you're already in it, whether you know it or not. I didn't respond. I just walked to the cabinet, poured a glass of water, and handed it to her. Fallon sat down at the edge of the couch, like she didn't belong there. And maybe she didn't. But she was here. And now, so was whatever shadow she'd dragged behind her. And in that silence before she spoke again, I felt it. That old fear I thought I'd buried the day I vanished. It was back. She sat on the edge of my couch like it might bite her. Hands wrapped around the water glass I gave her, not drinking, just holding. As if it anchored her to this moment. I didn't sit. I stood across the room with my back to the window, arms crossed, trying not to feel the ghost of our past in this space. But it was everywhere, especially in the silence. I didn't come to destroy your peace, she said quietly. I almost laughed. Then you should have stayed gone. Fallon nodded like she agreed. But she didn't leave. She never did when it mattered. I was scared, she said. That's why I lied to you back then. Why I pretended Jonas was just a friend. I thought if I kept you and him apart, I could keep the lie buried and move on. Except you didn't move on. You posted him. You flirted with him at events. You ignored me while he stood 2 inches from your mouth holding your drink. She flinched like the words hit. I didn't stop. You called me paranoid. Told me I was insecure. That I didn't understand your world. Meanwhile, he was texting you goodnight kisses, Fallon. And I was just the idiot changing your oil and folding your laundry. I know, she said, and her voice cracked for real this time. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I have to tell you what really happened. Because what Jonas is doing now, it started with that lie. But it didn't stop there. I didn't want to care. I wanted her to leave. But the look in her eyes? It wasn't regret. It was fear. Deep, human fear. The kind that makes your stomach tighten even when you don't want to feel anything. I said nothing. That was her cue to continue. She swallowed hard. And for the first time in our entire relationship, even in our marriage, I saw her hesitate like a kid caught doing something unforgivable. After you left, she began, he showed up at the apartment. Of course he did, I muttered. No, not like that. He didn't knock. He used a key. I blinked. A key. She nodded slowly. You gave him a key? I didn't, she said quickly. At least, not on purpose. I think he copied it from the one I left in my gym bag. I know how that sounds. But Owen, listen to me. He came in like he owned the place. Like he had been waiting for you to disappear. That stopped me cold. She took a shaky breath. I thought I could control it. I figured he had a crush. That if I kept things vague, he'd back off. But then you left, and he changed. Overnight. He started talking about our future. Said we were meant to happen now that you were gone. I didn't know what to say. I told him I needed time. But he didn't wait. I felt my jaw tighten. What did he do? She finally drank the water, like she needed courage from something other than herself. I found cameras. The word hit the air like a dropped plate. Cameras. I repeated. She nodded. Hidden. In my bedroom. In the bathroom. Even in the vent above the couch. My stomach turned. I confronted him. He didn't deny it. Said it was to keep me safe, that I needed watching. That he didn't trust what I'd do without him. He said you never deserved me, and that he had been cleaning up my messes for years. I couldn't speak. I just listened as her voice kept unraveling. He has footage, Owen. Of me. Of us. From when you were still home. Private moments. Embarrassing things. Conversations. Arguments. Everything. Why didn't you go to the police? I tried, she said. But the second I did, he sent a copy to my job. And then to my mother. I felt sick. Not because I pitied her, but because I realized how deep this thing really ran. This wasn't just a messy almost affair. This was obsession. Control. A predator hiding behind friendship and charm while I'd been made to feel like the jealous one. He said if I didn't come find you, she continued, he'd start sending clips to your family next. Your brother. Your old co-workers. He said he wants to finish what you started. Disappearing. But this time, it's you he wants erased. The room was suddenly colder. You were right to leave me, Owen, Fallon said, voice trembling. But I was wrong to think you were safe just because you left. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And for the first time, I couldn't see the woman I married. I saw someone trapped. Someone broken in ways even I didn't understand. And worse, I realized something that made my blood run cold. If Jonas knew she found me, then Jonas already knew where I was. And I had just let her walk him right to my door. I didn't sleep that night. After Fallon dropped the word cameras, my house stopped feeling like mine. Every creak of the wood, every breeze through the siding. It all felt like someone was watching me watch myself. She slept on the couch, or at least pretended to. I sat in the kitchen until sunrise, lights off, back to the wall. Around 2:30 a.m. I got up to check the back door. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. The window in the laundry room, the smallest one in the house, the one I always kept latched and sealed, was cracked open. Barely, just enough for air. But I never opened that one. Not even in summer. And it was unlocked. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't want to spook her. But my mind was sprinting in circles. If Fallon was telling the truth, and for once, I believed she was, then Jonas could have found me before she did. And if he found me first, then why hadn't he shown up? Unless he had. Fallon stirred when I walked past the couch. I guess I wasn't as quiet as I thought. You okay? She asked, her voice raspy from whatever passed for sleep in her. I paused in the hallway. Did you open the laundry room window? She sat up fast. What? It was cracked. I didn't touch anything. I swear. I believed her. And I hated that I did. That meant someone had been here before she arrived. She stood up now, brushing the blanket off. Do you have a phone? Like a real one? Not a burner. I hesitated, then slowly nodded. It's off. I only use it when I go into town. It's not tied to anything. Good, she said. Keep it that way. She walked over to the window, peeked through the blinds, and then said something under her breath that made my stomach clench. You shouldn't have stayed in one place this long. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning, a regret. And that's when I realized something else. This wasn't the first time Jonas had done this. Fallon wasn't just scared for herself. She was scared of a pattern, a progression, one she'd seen before. What aren't you telling me? I asked. She turned toward me slowly. There's someone else. Someone from before you. He did this to her too. I waited. She went missing. My throat tightened. What do you mean, missing? Her name was Ray. She was one of his clients back when he was still doing video freelancing. I met her once, briefly. She was vibrant, confident, a little intense, but kind. I nodded slowly, letting her talk. Then one day, she vanished. No warning. No goodbye. Just gone. Jonas said she ran off with some guy. That she ghosted her whole family. Everyone believed him because, well, he's charming. Persuasive. And you didn't? I did, she whispered. At the time. But after what I found in my own apartment, after the vents, the audio recorder under the bed, I started wondering. Did you tell anyone? No one listens to exes, Owen. You know that. They just call us bitter. A silence stretched between us. She looked small now. Not weak, just defeated. Like she'd screamed for help in 10 directions, and no one turned their head. I broke the silence first. What does he want from me? She looked up. Control. He already took that. Not enough. You vanished, and that bothers him. You disappeared without letting him win. That's not something he forgets. I shook my head. Then why wait 2 years? She looked toward the cracked window. I don't think he was waiting. I think he was collecting. I felt something cold slide down my spine. Collecting what? Fallon turned toward me, eyes wide and tired. Leverage. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out a small thumb drive, and placed it on the table like it was ticking. He sent this to my work last week. Labeled it the last goodbye. I haven't opened it. I was too afraid to look. I stared at the tiny piece of plastic like it held a bomb. And maybe it did. Because whatever was on that drive, it wasn't just meant for her anymore. It had my name on it now. And I wasn't ready for what came next. I didn't touch the flash drive for 6 hours. It just sat on the table like a weapon I didn't know how to use. Fallon fell asleep again. Not peacefully, but in that twitchy, half-conscious way people do when their body's too exhausted to stay alert, but their mind still thinks something's coming through the door. Me? I just stared at it. At first, I tried to convince myself it was a bluff. That Jonas had sent it to scare her. Maybe it had nothing on it. Maybe it was full of old photos, or an empty folder, or some twisted inside joke meant to trigger old guilt. But the second I plugged it in, I knew. The drive wasn't blank. It wasn't generic. It had one folder, named Owen_Truth. I sat back like it burned me. Fallon stirred on the couch. You opened it? I didn't answer. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes, watching my face. What's in it? I haven't looked. But I would. Not because I wanted to. Because I had to. Because if I didn't, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what was worse, the truth or not knowing it. I clicked the folder. Inside were 6 video files. 6. All named with dates. The oldest one was from the last month I was home, 3 weeks before she wore that dress. The newest was from 6 days ago. 6 days ago. I opened the oldest file. There I was, sitting in our old apartment, on the edge of the bed, holding my laptop. Fallon was in the background, brushing her hair, wearing a robe. We were talking about groceries. Completely ordinary. Completely private. And it had been recorded. Not from a phone. Not from a camera someone held. From a fixed angle. Like it was mounted. I clicked the next one. More of the same. Me cooking. Fallon scrolling on her phone. A stupid argument about laundry. But the audio was crystal clear. Too clear. The third video? That one made me sick. It was from the night of the party. She didn't leave immediately after she got dressed. There was more. Something I never saw. In the video, I walk out of the room holding the lasagna. Fallon is checking herself in the mirror. She picks up her phone. Dials. She smiles. Then she says, yeah, he bought the whole thing. I'll be there in 20. A pause. No, he won't stop you. Trust me. He's past the point of fighting. Another pause. Bring wine. He'll probably cry after. I paused the video. I felt my chest cave in. Not because it hurt. I'd already lived the moment of betrayal. But because now I knew. She didn't just walk out. She rehearsed it. She knew I'd say nothing. She knew I wouldn't stop her. She planned around my silence. I stood up, walked to the back door, opened it, and stared into the woods. The rain had finally stopped. Everything was still. But the house felt smaller now. like it was folding in on me. When I came back in, Fallon was standing. She didn't look at me. She knew. You watched it, she said softly. I nodded. I didn't know he was recording us back then. I swear. That's not what you need to apologize for. She exhaled hard. I wasn't trying to humiliate you. Then what were you doing? She paused. I was trying to prove something. To myself. That I could get away with it. That I was still wanted. I stared at her, waiting. I thought I was losing you. That you didn't love me the way you used to. I wanted someone to notice me again. And you picked him? She flinched. I thought he was harmless. I shook my head. You picked him because he hated me. Because you liked the power of being the woman two men orbited around. She didn't argue. There was nothing left to argue. I went back to the laptop. Clicked the next video. This one wasn't in our old apartment. It was of me. Now, walking to the corner store last week. Taking my trash out 2 nights ago. Sitting on my porch reading a book. I froze. There was no way anyone could have taken that footage unless they were already here. In town. On my street. In my woods. Fallon, I said, voice hollow. He's here. She rushed over to look. The color drained from her face. That was the moment I realized something even worse. Jonas wasn't just blackmailing her. He was building something. A story. A timeline. A case. He wasn't just obsessed with her. He was obsessed with us. And whatever he was planning. He wasn't finished yet. There are certain knocks that don't sound like strangers. This one came at 3:47 a.m. 3 short raps. No pause. Firm. Deliberate. Like whoever stood on the other side already knew they belonged here. Or didn't care if they didn't. Fallon sat upright, so fast the blanket tangled around her legs. I didn't say a word. Just raised a finger and mouthed, don't move. I walked to the door, heart thudding in my ears. No lights on. No noise except the wind brushing the trees outside. I peeked through the side window. And froze. It wasn't Jonas. It was Theo. My brother. My estranged brother. The last time I spoke to him was 10 months ago, when I sent him a burner number and told him to delete my contact after wiring him $500 to forward a package. I never told him where I lived. Never gave him a return address. And yet here he was, standing on my porch like he just drove in from a funeral. I opened the door slowly. Theo? I asked. He didn't smile. Didn't flinch. Just said, we need to talk. Inside. Now. I let him in. Fallon backed into the kitchen as soon as she saw him. You brought her. Theo snapped at me. I was too stunned to answer. He dropped his backpack on the floor with a thud, unzipped it, and pulled out a manila folder, thick with printed documents and photos. I wasn't going to come. I told myself I'd respect your disappearing act. But then this showed up at my apartment. He tossed the folder onto my table. Pages spilled out across the wood. Photos. Of me. Walking through town. In my car. At the gas station. And then, photos of Fallon. Candid. Zoomed in. One of her through the blinds. Another one of her bending to tie her shoe outside a pharmacy. And then the worst of them. One I didn't take in until a few seconds passed. A photo of me and Fallon. Together. In this house. From last night. Through the living room window. Taken from less than 20 feet away. Whoever sent this, Theo said slowly, also sent a note. He pulled a torn piece of printer paper from the folder. It said, if Owen disappears again, you'll know where to look first. No signature. No date. No fingerprints, probably. Just the kind of line that turns your blood to ice. Who sent it? I asked, but I already knew. Theo shrugged. No return address. It came in a plain envelope. No postage. Someone hand-delivered it. Slipped it through the mail slot. Fallon sank into a chair. It's him. It has to be him. He's escalating. Theo turned toward her. And you're the reason he's doing it. I stepped between them. Stop. Don't defend her, Theo said, voice sharp. You vanished, Owen. You vanished. Mom thought you were dead. You think I didn't check morgues? And now I find out some psychotic stalker's got your face on file and is mailing me threats like I'm part of your little soap opera? I didn't ask you to come. No, but I did it anyway. Because despite everything, you're still my brother. He pointed at Fallon again. And she's the one who brought the problem back to your door. She didn't know. She always knew. Maybe not about the cameras, but about him. You think people like that just show up out of nowhere? No, they're invited. Bit by bit. Over time. She cracked the door. He kicked it open. Fallon didn't argue. She didn't even look up. And that made it worse. Theo stepped back. This guy's watching you. He's close. And now he knows I'm here. I picked up one of the photos again. It was from 2 days ago. I was sitting on the porch, staring at the trees. Fallon's blurry outline was visible in the doorway behind me. The shot was angled low. I realized something then. He's not watching from the trees. Theo raised an eyebrow. He's inside something. A vehicle. Look at the reflection in the glass. Theo leaned in, squinted. Sure enough, in the corner of the image, there was the faint curve of a dashboard. Part of a steering wheel. The edge of a phone mount. He's been driving by. Fallon whispered something then, barely audible. He used to do that with Ray. We both turned. What did you say? I asked. She looked up slowly. He'd sit in his car across the street from her job. Sometimes all night. She thought he was protecting her. I felt sick. Theo grabbed his keys. I'm going out there. If he's still around. No, I said. That's what he wants. You go out there, he gets your face, too. This isn't about fighting him in the dark. Then what's it about? I picked up the drive. The pictures. The note. It's about dragging him into the light. And I already knew how I was going to do it. The plan was simple. Not safe. Not smart. Not even legal in some states. But it was the only way I knew how to get him to show his face without dragging in lawyers or police who wouldn't believe half of what we had. I left the curtains wide open. I sat on the couch. Fallon in the kitchen behind me. Theo parked his truck around the corner, camera ready, phone in hand. One night. One shot. We baited the hook with what Jonas wanted most. Me. And her. Together again. I kept the lights low. Laptop open. That same thumb drive in the USB port. Screen glowing, just bright enough to be seen from the window. The perfect image for a voyeur who liked to keep trophies. I didn't even have to wait long. It was 9:42 p.m. when I heard the slow crunch of tires over gravel. I didn't look. I didn't move. I kept my fingers on the keyboard, pretending to type. Theo's voice came in through the earpiece he gave me. Black SUV. Driver's side window cracked. He's watching. Don't react. Fallon tensed in the kitchen. I could feel her staring. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Still he sat. He wasn't looking for weakness. He was soaking it in. Recording it, maybe. Marking it like some sick chapter in a book only he was writing. At 10:07 p.m., Theo whispered. He's out. Walking toward the house. My stomach dropped. Let him come, I said. Fallon stiffened behind me. You sure? No, I said. But we're not hiding anymore. The knock was soft. Not like Theo's. Not like someone who belonged. It was a knock meant to test a boundary. I opened the door. Jonas smiled like a man showing up to collect a debt you forgot you owed. Same jacket. Same charming, empty eyes. Well, he said. You've aged. You haven't, I replied. That's what happens when you never carry weight. He glanced behind me, looking for Fallon. I didn't let him see her. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. That was a mistake, he said quietly. Not letting me in. No, I said. The mistake was you thinking this was still your story. He tilted his head. It always was, Owen. You just refused your role. Theo moved fast. The second Jonas turned his back, Theo came up behind him, phone recording, flashlight on, announcing each step loudly, legally. You're being filmed, he said. Anything you do or say is now documented. Copies are already uploaded. You move, we press send. Jonas froze. Not out of fear. Out of calculation. He looked at me. So that's the play. No, I said. That was the warning. I handed him a piece of paper. Restraining order. Already signed. Already processed. Witnessed by a lawyer in town who owed Theo a favor. You violated a stalking statute, I said calmly. Trespassing. Surveillance. Digital harassment. Your photos? Your thumb drive? Already turned in. I didn't vanish this time, Jonas. I did the one thing you never expected. I smiled. I talked. He didn't fight. Didn't run. He just stood there, smirking like he couldn't decide whether to laugh or lunge. Theo kept the camera on him until he walked back to his SUV and drove off without a word. It was over. Not with fireworks. Not with a scream. Just over. The quiet afterward was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Fallon cried that night. Not dramatic. Not manipulative. Real. Raw. In the quiet corner of the living room after Theo had gone back to his motel, and I had locked every window twice. She asked if I could ever forgive her. I told her the truth. Not yet. But maybe someday. And I meant it. Because for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel used. I felt seen, and not in the way Jonas had done it. Seen for who I was when I stopped running. Fallon stayed one more day. Then she left for the coast, quietly, with a burner phone and a new name she was planning to legally claim within the month. Her story with me was over, but her story wasn't. Theo and I made peace. Not overnight, but enough to meet once a month at a diner halfway between us. No cameras, no threats, just bad coffee and brotherhood. As for me, I stayed. Same house, same porch. But now, the windows stay open because I want them to, not because someone's watching. And every night, I write down one sentence in a little notebook I keep by the window. Tonight's reads, I didn't disappear. I reclaimed myself. And no one will ever take that from me again.